Record. Hello, everybody. I see some familiar faces here. I see we have people from Canada, people from the US. This is wonderful. Welcome to the first session of Hasbara Education. My name is Shiri Gabriel, and if we haven't personally met, I actually invite you to turn on your camera, say hi. You can turn it off after, but I would love to see everybody's faces and say hi. I want everybody to feel comfortable because that's the idea of this session is we are all one big family. And I know that's why everybody joined, because we all feel very connected with everything that is happening. So if you want to just turn on your camera, say hi, you can turn it off after, or you can keep it on. It's going to be a great session. Just want to make sure that everybody feels comfortable. So, and that I have your full attention, because as I always say, when I do Zoom sessions and I teach via Zoom, I know what I look like and I look pretty good, but I want to see what everybody looks like. And I want to see, because I know everybody looks great and amazing. I know it's a little bit late, 8:30 for some of you is later, but feel free to turn on your cameras. I'm going to wait for 2 more minutes, actually 1 more minute, and then I'll get started. I just want to make sure that I give an opportunity for everybody to arrive. And I know that, oh, thank you. Okay, I got the message from Gilad, thank you, is driving. So yes, do not turn on your camera. All right. Okay. So we will get started again. Thank you, everybody, for joining tonight. And as I was saying, I am very, very happy to be doing this. I am doing this because probably like many of you, there is that sense of feeling a little bit helpless being in the diaspora with everything that is happening in Israel. And I'm sure that all of us here, I always say, people ask me, so do you have family in Israel? And I say, yes, I have a few millions there, because we're all family. And whether you have direct family, direct friends that you actually know, as Jews, we're all one big family. And so I thought that providing these Hasbara, these educational sessions, I could contribute the very little that I can. But it was actually people reaching out to me, asking me to do this, and seeing people, especially children in university, in high schools, how they're being attacked verbally, or how some of us get these disturbing messages from people attacking us verbally. And many times we feel helpless. We don't know what to say. We are afraid. We turn around and we leave, or we just start attacking back without any facts. And it is important that we understand what the problem is in order to solve it. And it is important to know the facts in order to combat verbal terror and accusations. Sorry, guys, as I speak, I'm letting people in. You know what I'm going to do? Where are you? Okay, because I see my sons here, Yoav and Eyal are here. So, guys, I'm going to make you co-hosts and just help me admitting people, okay, to the room, so that way I don't get distracted. There we go. I made you co-hosts. So as I was saying, it is important that we understand what the problem is in order to solve it. And it is important to know the facts in order to combat verbal terror and accusations, which is what we're seeing a lot of today. What differentiates us, the Jews, from the Arabs or any other nations is our ability to think, to articulate our thoughts, and express ourselves in an intelligent manner. I think that this has for centuries been one of our strengths, and has remained a strength and a skill that has kept us alive. And here in the diaspora, outside of Israel, we can't win with force, but we can certainly win and triumph with words, with facts. And this is the objective of today's session. It is to be able to provide you with tools to stand strong and confidently against those who want to hurt us, those who want to destroy us and humiliate us, because I think that's a big part of it. And sometimes we feel that way. So I will show you how knowledge is power, how you will feel empowered and stand proudly and tall in front of anyone, in front of anything and anywhere. So the intention for today is not to change people's views. This we can control. And in fact, I got a few messages from people saying, well, I've tried, I can't change people. I cannot change what they think, how they feel, and their opinions. We can't do that. Not today, not because of the situation, but not ever. You can never change what people think and their opinions. But what we control is feeling confident. What we control is being able to have the facts, and those facts will help us to argue and position ourselves as someone who can combat verbal terror. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a short video. And this is a 5-minute video. Some of you might have seen it already. And the reason I'm showing you this video is because it's going to help us to take the first step, which is to understand history and some crucial events. What I'm going to ask you is to save your questions for the end. You might have questions, and I'm going to do my best to answer all of them, but please make sure that you save those for the end. Okay. So on that note, let me just share the sound here. Give me 1 second. And here we go. Guys, if you can admit people, that would be great. Thank you. All right, here we go. And give me a thumbs up that you can hear the sound. I'm going to start playing. I just want to make sure that I can see you. Give me a thumbs up, okay?
If Israel just allowed the Palestinians to have a state of their own, there would be peace in the Middle East, right? That's what you hear from UN ambassadors, European diplomats, and most college professors. But what if I told you that Israel has already offered the Palestinians a state of their own, and not just once, but on 5 separate occasions? Don't believe me? Let's review the record. After the breakup of the Ottoman Empire following World War I, Britain took control of most of the Middle East, including the area that constitutes modern Israel. 17 years later, in 1936, the Arabs rebelled against the British and against their Jewish neighbors. The British formed a task force, the Peel Commission, to study the cause of the rebellion. The commission concluded that the reason for the violence was that 2 peoples, Jews and Arabs, wanted to govern the same land. The answer, the Peel Commission concluded, would be to create 2 independent states, one for the Jews and one for the Arabs, a 2-state solution. The suggested split was heavily in favor of the Arabs. The British offered them 80% of the disputed territory, the Jews the remaining 20%. Yet, despite the tiny size of their proposed state, the Jews voted to accept this offer, but the Arabs rejected it and resumed their violent rebellion. Rejection number 1. 10 years later, in 1947, the British asked the United Nations to find a new solution to the continuing tensions. Like the Peel Commission, the UN decided that the best way to resolve the conflict was to divide the land. In November 1947, the UN voted to create 2 states. Again, the Jews accepted the offer, and again, the Arabs rejected it. Only this time, they did so by launching an all-out war. Rejection number 2. Jordan, Egypt, Iraq, Lebanon, and Syria joined the conflict, but they failed. Israel won the war and got on with the business of building a new nation. Most of the land set aside by the UN for an Arab state, the West Bank and East Jerusalem, became occupied territory, occupied not by Israel, but by Jordan. 20 years later, in 1967, the Arabs, led this time by Egypt and joined by Syria and Jordan, once again sought to destroy the Jewish state. The 1967 conflict, known as the Six-Day War, ended in a stunning victory for Israel. Jerusalem and the West Bank, as well as the area known as the Gaza Strip, fell into Israel's hands. The government split over what to do with this new territory. Half wanted to return the West Bank to Jordan and Gaza to Egypt in exchange for peace. The other half wanted to give it to the region's Arabs, who had begun referring to themselves as the Palestinians, in the hope that they would ultimately build their own state there. Neither initiative got very far. A few months later, the Arab League met in Sudan and issued its infamous 3 no's. No peace with Israel, no recognition of Israel, no negotiations with Israel. Again, a 2-state solution was dismissed by the Arabs, making this rejection number 3. In 2000, Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak met at Camp David with Palestinian Liberation Organization Chairman Yasser Arafat to conclude a new 2-state plan. Barak offered Arafat a Palestinian state in all of Gaza and 94% of the West Bank, with East Jerusalem as its capital. But the Palestinian leader rejected the offer. In the words of U.S. President Bill Clinton, Arafat was here 14 days and said no to everything. Instead, the Palestinians launched a bloody wave of suicide bombings that killed over 1,000 Israelis and maimed thousands more, on buses, in wedding halls, and in pizza parlors. Rejection number 4. In 2008, Israel tried yet again. Prime Minister Ehud Olmert went even further than Ehud Barak had, expanding the peace offer to include additional land to sweeten the deal. Like his predecessor, the new Palestinian leader, Mahmoud Abbas, turned the deal down. Rejection number 5. In between these last 2 Israeli offers, Israel unilaterally left Gaza, giving the Palestinians complete control there. Instead of developing this territory for the good of its citizens, the Palestinians turned Gaza into a terrorist base from which they have fired thousands of rockets into Israel. Each time Israel has agreed to a Palestinian state, the Palestinians have rejected the offer, often violently. So if you're interested in peace in the Middle East, maybe the answer is not to pressure Israel to make yet another offer of a state to the Palestinians. Maybe the answer is to pressure the Palestinians to finally accept the existence of a Jewish state.
All right. So that starts with a little bit of history and the facts. Because again, once you have the facts, it's hard for anyone to...
If Israel just allowed the Palestinians to have a state of their own, there would be peace in the Middle East, right? That's what you hear from UN ambassadors.
Sorry, I'm going to turn that off. Give me 1 second.
Most college professors. But what if I told you?
There we go.
Hey, Mommy, if you could send that in the chat, the link to that video, that'd be great as well.
All right. I'll do that. And in fact, I'm going to give all the details for this. So this is going to be recorded and I'm actually going to put it on my YouTube channel and I am going to share different links. So yes, thank you. I will try to get it now, but I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do that yet, but thank you. I'll give it a try. If not, I'll have it later on with the recording. So Israel at war. This is how you're going to be able to combat the lies with facts. So what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to post as I call it here, a myth, and then I'm going to give you the facts. And this is how this is going to go. There's going to be a myth, and then I'm going to give you the facts. As I said, this is recorded, so you're going to be able to have access to it later on. Okay. So let's start with myth number 1, in no particular order, by the way. Israel has been committing unspeakable war crimes, crimes against humanity, and illegal collective punishment against Palestinians in Gaza for 15 years. Any comment or analysis that doesn't take this fact into consideration today is hollow, immoral, and dehumanizing. So let's look at what the fact is. Let me just close this here. Fact. So this is false. In 2005, as we saw already, Israel disengaged completely from Gaza, removing all Jewish presence and giving land in exchange for peace with the Palestinians. Israel had legal right under international law to this land, having gained the land from Egypt in a defensive war against several Arab countries in 1967, the Six-Day War. Instead of peace, Israel has experienced constant rocket attacks and Hamas provoked wars over the last 15 years. Another fact for this: Hamas, a terrorist organization, is the ruling authority in Gaza and has controlled the region since 2007. It, and not Israel, has committed crimes against Palestinian people, denying them basic rights such as water, electricity, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and freedom of movement. In times of conflict, Hamas uses schools and hospitals as launchpads for its rockets, using its people as human shields and knowingly and deliberately putting them in harm's way. Myth: if Palestinians were offered a state of their own and Israel agreed to it, there would be peace. Here's the fact, and we actually saw that in the video that I showed you. So all the peace proposals rejected by the Palestinians. The video talked about 5. We have more here. 1947, there was the partition proposal. 1949, land plan proposal. 1967, land plan proposal. 1978, Begin and Sadat, peace proposal. 1994, Rabin and Hussein, peace proposal. 2000, Barack and Clinton, peace proposal. 2008, Olmert and Bush, peace proposal. 2014, Kerry's contour for peace. 2019, Trump and Netanyahu invite to join Abraham Accords. So if the Palestinians really wanted peace and their own state, they would have it by now. But that has not happened. Another myth: Israel maintains an illegal occupation. This is, I think, something that we hear all the time, especially when we have Palestinians protesting. Israel maintains an illegal occupation. So let's look at the facts here. In 1967, tiny Israel was simultaneously attacked by Egypt, Syria, Jordan, Iraq, and Lebanon, the Six-Day War. Miraculously, because it was a miracle, Israel came out victorious, while Jordan, Egypt, and Syria fled. Israel, despite having been attacked, returned most of the land they won in this defensive war in exchange for peace, and only kept buffer zones for safety. In 2005, Israel completely evacuated Gaza, removing 8,000 Jews. Israel removed 8,000 Jews from their homes in hopes that Gaza would become a peaceful Palestinian state. To this day, there is no Israeli presence in Gaza. Israel merely shares a border with Gaza, which has been firing rockets upon rockets ever since Israel left. Fact. Myth: Israel started it. Israel is responsible for the conflict because of their occupation and colonization of the land. Fact. Let's talk about occupation and colonization. Occupying land means settling there illegally. Since Israel gained Judea and Samaria, we don't like using West Bank because it's the colonizers' language. So we prefer to use Judea and Samaria. So since Israel gained this territory in a defensive war, as we said in 1967, Egypt, Syria, and Jordan collectively planned an attack on Israel. In this defensive war, Israel, as we said already, miraculously gained Judea and Samaria, the Golan Heights, Jerusalem, Gaza, and the Sinai Peninsula. Israel thus has the legal right to this land based on international law. In addition, this land is the indigenous homeland of the Jewish people. The definition of colonization is the action or process of settling among and establishing control over the indigenous people of an area by a foreign entity. Since Jews are the indigenous people of this area, to call for anyone other than Jews to control the area is to actively call for colonization. Fact. Myth. Israel is an apartheid state. I'm sure all of us have been hearing this, not just recently, but for years. What do we say to that? Fact. All Israelis, irrespective of their race or ethnicity, have equal rights at every level. There are even Muslim parties in the Knesset, the parliament, holding 10 of 120 seats. A quick stroll through any major Israeli city will show you Israelis of all religion getting about their day together and happily. The third most popular party in Israel is the Arab Palestinian Party. Often when people say this, they are referring to Palestinians living either in Gaza, which is under Hamas rule, or parts of the West Bank, which are under the rule of the Palestinian Authority. These Palestinians are treated like any other visitor to Israel. They can apply for a work or tourist visa to enter, and then work or tour like any other visa holding visitors. How do you think Palestinians are getting to Canada or the US? Through Israel, through Ben Gurion Airport. That's a fact. Sorry, I have a comment. Yes, so please hold your questions to the end, and I'm actually going to answer that question in a second. 13 Arab Knesset Israeli parliament members. Here they are. That's a fact. There's no apartheid here. That's for sure. Israel is ethnically cleansing Palestinians. Here are the facts. If you look at the Jewish population at the top left, Jewish population in Arab and Muslim countries, look at that, whoosh, going from 900,000 in 1948, almost to nothing, right? Just a few thousands in the recent years. Jewish population in Europe, never mind Muslim and Arab countries, also declining. Look at the Palestinian population, the biggest square here. Palestinian population, Gaza, West Bank, and Israel. Look what's happened. Are we really trying to erase Palestinians and Arabs in Israel? No. There is the fact right there. So, how does one explain the differences in treatment between Arab Israelis and Arabs in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip? Oh, okay. So we won't answer that now. Let's go to another myth. I don't know what happened to this slide. I'll look for it after. Here's another myth. Israel builds homes in the West Bank. First of all, the West Bank is a colonialist language. The indigenous name for the region is Judea and Samaria, which is what I mentioned before. Jews have lived in this area for 3,000 years. Expecting Jews to leave is expecting ethnic cleansing of Jews from their indigenous land. That's a fact. So this is actually, sorry, this is the answer to this. I'm sorry. So how does one explain the differences in treatment between Arab Israelis and Arabs in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip? Here it is. The answer is not complicated. Arabs residing in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip are not now and never have been Israeli citizens, and therefore cannot claim rights due to Israeli citizens. All countries favor their own citizens vis-a-vis non-citizens. Moreover, many Arabs in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip are engaged in an ongoing armed conflict with Israel. Israel is faced with a hostile Arab population which has yet to come to terms with Israel's existence and which actively seeks to destroy the Jewish state. Because of the ongoing conflict, the relationship of Arabs in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip with Israel is governed primarily by the terms of the law of armed conflict. As such, any acts or policies of alleged discrimination by Israel against the Arabs living in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip must be viewed through the lens of the law of armed conflict. As long as Israel's actions and policies comply with applicable international law, they are lawful. Israel's actions are based on well-recognized national security needs, not racial animus. Basically, Israel has the right to defend itself. Israel took over Al-Aqsa. Fact, Al-Aqsa is in Israel and is built on top of the Temple Mount, the holiest site in Judaism. Despite this, Jordan, through the WAQF, controls who has access to Al-Aqsa. Israel is in charge of security of the premises. That's it. So a few things to add about this. Jews are not allowed to actually enter certain areas in Temple Mount. Temple Mount is in Israel, the holiest site to Judaism, in Judaism. Yet Israel still makes sure that Arabs and Muslims can pray there and can pray in peace. So Israel is actually not just protecting the Jews there, but they're protecting the Arabs and the Muslims as well. And that is a fact. Israel's response is disproportionate. And I'm sure many of you saw the video. I can remember who was in the UK answering this question. It's a great video. And I'm going to give you the response to this myth here. Israel's response is disproportionate. Well, you're correct. Israel has continuously demonstrated incredible restraint, in my opinion, too much. A proportional response from Israel would mean that the IDF goes into the homes of innocent Arabs and kills whole families, including babies, rapes teenagers, and kidnaps and tortures the elderly. Is this the proportional response you are seeking? Myth. Israel is strong and Gaza is poor. There is nothing fair about war. This war shows that Gaza's poverty has not deterred Hamas from amassing rockets, ammunition, and technology that has resulted in almost 1,000 dead people in Israel. Jews and people of other nationalities, by the way. Almost 3,000 injured and many others kidnapped for torture. Hamas has stolen from its people and is using funds that should have been put towards building infrastructure to better the lives of its people, to fulfill its publicly stated mission of wiping Jews off the face of the earth. So if you're hearing that Gaza is poor, it is correct. But Hamas has millions, if not billions of dollars, but they're not putting it to protect their people, to protect the Palestinians. They're using the funds against Israel. Gaza doesn't have bomb shelters. A myth. Well, the fact is that if they didn't shoot rockets at Israel, they wouldn't need any. They do not have bomb shelters, that is true, because Palestinian leadership spends their money and resources trying to kill as many Jews and Israelis as possible at the neglect of their own people. Listen to these numbers. The rockets cost $45,000 each. Hamas is spending over $31 million a day attacking Israeli citizens and paying the families of terrorists that stabbed and murdered Jews instead of protecting their own. Hamas, as the government of the Palestinians, is responsible for protecting their people, not Israel. These rockets are nothing but fireworks. That's a myth. The fact is that the rockets are deadly and have already killed and many Israelis, Arabs, Druze, and Bedouins, Christians, and Muslims in Israel, and destroyed many homes, buildings, schools, synagogues, and playgrounds. Many Palestinians have also been killed by rockets that were launched but fell back into Gaza. And we saw this yesterday, a rocket hitting a hospital and killing hundreds of Palestinians. These rockets have a range of approximately 150 kilometers. Jericho, a city on the far right end of Israel, is 100 kilometers from Gaza, meaning these rockets can reach anywhere across the country. So they're not fireworks. Another myth. Look at these horrible pictures of dead children in Gaza. It is heartbreaking to see death of children in Gaza, just as it is to see the death of children in Israel. If Palestinian leadership cared more about their children than they did about killing Jews, there would be no pictures of dead children. And Golda Meir said this very, very well. That's exactly what she said. As for the pictures, do a reverse Google search. And I encourage everybody to do this. Do a reverse Google search. And more often than not, those pictures are actually from Syria and other war-torn countries. They're actually not real. Israel is cutting off water and electricity. A myth. That's what we hear. Well, any water supply or electricity issues are not the responsibility of Israel, as Israel does not have authority over the region. In general, if Gazans do not have water or electricity, it is because their leadership is not providing them with any. Right now, Israel is at war and must use any defensive means at its disposal to stop the murder, kidnapping, and torture of innocent civilians. In this case, cutting off electricity to the region significantly impairs Hamas' ability to murder and kidnap more Jews. Myth. Israel maintains a siege in Gaza. A fact that's literally impossible. And this answers some of the questions that I got. Since Gaza also has a border with Egypt, why is Egypt not supplying Gaza with electricity and water? Why is the responsibility of people being attacked by Gaza to be the ones to provide it with resources to continue doing so? That is ridiculous. Yet Israel has continuously been doing that. No more. Israel maintains security borders like any other country. Here it is. You must have a visa to enter. Due to Gaza's tendency to import rockets, which are used on Israeli citizens, Israel inspects all imports at the border and allows all safe materials through, just like any other border. And just like any other country would do, right? So you need to stand strong. We all need to stand strong. This is your homeland. It doesn't matter if we don't live in Israel. This is your homeland and your people. Your family in Israel have so much appreciation and respect for all of us for being able to stand with Israel, even amidst all the propaganda and the peer pressure that we feel and we often experience outside of Israel. Now, you can find all of these on social media. So make sure actually you can take a picture or a screenshot of this. I do encourage you to do that. You're going to find more facts and support. And this is actually where I get my material as well. So feel free to join any of these social media, especially, and again, I know that we have a few people, young adults that are in university. This is going to help you tremendously. So make sure that you join on social media to find more facts that will help you to support or to defend yourself, as I said at the beginning. We can argue with anything. And what I was saying at the beginning, I heard from many people that told me, well, I've tried. I've spoken to people. I said what I think, what I feel, what I know. But many times what we feel, what we know, and what we think are not fact-based. When you have the facts, you can combat anything and anyone. Nobody can stand on your way. Again, it's not about changing people's minds. It's not about changing people's opinions. If we get to do that or we manage to do that, great. But that's not our intention. And it should not be our intention. Our intention is to make sure that we are empowered, because knowledge is power. Our intention and our objective should be that we can stand tall. We can stand confident in front of any threat and anyone that comes our way. So instead of turning our backs and walking away, or rather just start shouting things that we don't know what we're saying, we need to come back at them with the facts. And that's all that we can do. And that is going to give us a sense of security, a sense of empowerment, and really the confidence that we need to stand tall and to show our support and to stand with Israel, not just say it, but to really stand with Israel in any opportunity that we can. So don't stay quiet. Don't turn your back when someone comes at you. Make sure that you have the facts and you can actually respond in a Jewish way with Yiddishkeit, with the sechel that we have, with the words that we know how to use. That is what differentiates between us and between our enemies and the Arabs, is our ability to speak, our ability to think, our education, our passion. Nobody has been able to destroy us, and it's not going to happen. So we stand strong and we continue to learn and educate ourselves. And this is why I'm going to have these sessions every single week, to be able to provide you with facts and education so we can stand strong against any threat that we face. So I have a few questions here. And again, you can put them on the chat. You can take yourself off mute and ask them. So who controls the borders? Again, Todd, I think we answered this. It's Israel. I mean, Israel controls the border with Gaza, just like they do with any other country. Gaza is considered a country, an independent entity. And so the borders exist, and they exist for a reason, just like any other borders around the world for any other country. How would you explain to people what Free Palestine actually means? I wouldn't explain anything. And here's the thing. This is what I do. When I'm not certain about a question that I get, I actually answer it with a question. And you'd be surprised what happens when you actually tell someone, especially someone who's a little bit ignorant and uneducated, and you say to them, what do you mean by that? So when they ask you, Free Palestine, right? Free, because that's all they're shouting, Free Palestine, kill the Jews, whatever they're shouting. What do you mean by that? Free Palestine. Free Palestine from what? Can you explain that to me? Ask them to explain it to you. You'll see that they can't explain it to you. So ask them for the facts. That's what I would do. Because to be honest with you, I don't know what it means to them. It depends who's asking, who's saying that, or who, who's coming at you saying Free Palestine. What does that mean? Because to me, and I agree with the statement, Free Palestine from Hamas, I agree 100% with that. We can actually have a whole conversation around that. So I hope, Gilly, that answers your question. Sorry, guys, let me just
Can I ask you a question? But rather than write it, can I ask?
Yes,
Or-
yes,
Okay.
yes, Mila, of course.
Here's my question. I love facts. I appreciate facts. It's great. And we have the facts on our side, but we are still losing the PR war. And I guess what I'm trying to understand is the underlying reason for why. Because no matter how many times we try to give facts to people, they don't want to listen to the facts. They don't. And I appreciate your saying this is for us and to empower us, and we're not trying to change their minds. But seeing what I've seen over the past few days, it's frightening, honestly, for most of the people that I'm speaking to, with how many people outside of this, like how many people, just regular Canadians, Australians, Europeans, are buying the other side and not listening to the facts. Basically, emotion seems to be winning over facts. So how do we counter that? Because people just don't want to listen to the facts. They're just not.
Yeah, and Mila, someone who doesn't want to listen and is not ready to listen, there's nothing you can do about that. You can try to show them the facts. You can try to have a conversation. But I think the first step for you to be able to share the facts with someone is for them to be able to listen, or being open to listen. And you're right, many people are not open to listen, and there's nothing we can do about that. I'm sorry to tell you that. And I don't know if you have a personal experience that has happened to you, But if it has, and it's because someone is not open to listen to you, there's nothing you can do about that.
Mhm. No, it wasn't a personal thing. It's more of what I see sort of on general online with comments. And I see people saying things and people countering with full facts. I mean, and people just don't want to listen. And so I guess what I'm trying to understand is what the underlying reason for that is. Is it just pure, plain old anti-Semitism? Or is there something more that we can figure out what it is and get to the bottom of it and then maybe try to fix it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say on a sort of very simple scale.
Yeah, yeah, no, I totally understand. I think there are many reasons, Mila, and I think if we could get to the bottom of that, we wouldn't be having this conversation or this session, to be
Yeah,
honest with
that's
you,
true.
right?
That's true. But I do
Um,
appreciate this because it is good to have facts. But yes, I wish people would listen to it.
yeah, it's you know what, and I guess all of us here. And by the way, I'm completely new to this, just like you are, Mila.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
I'm completely new to this. Um, I think it's going to be learn as we go, right? And I think that it really is going to depend on the situation, on who you're talking to, and really how many facts and how much knowledge do you have, right? To feel confident,
Mhm.
to be able to provide these facts to people. And by the way, if you don't remember, you don't have the facts right there and then, you can actually tell if you're having a conversation, you've been faced with this, to say to the person, listen, I actually can send you some information about this if you really want to know more about the facts, rather than just, throwing
Mhm.
things that don't make sense, right? And
Mhm.
you're going to see if they're going to want to listen or not. Um,
Sure.
so again, I think in the sessions to come also, Mila, and I want everybody to join us, right? Maybe we will have some personal experiences that we're going to be able to share and learn from them, right? I think
Mhm.
that's at least my expectation.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Well, thank you
Sorry,
for
Mila.
doing
I guess
this.
I didn't answer your question, but I don't have an answer for you.
No, I get, I hear you. I hear you. But thank you for doing this. I really do appreciate
You're
you doing.
welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for being here. So let me just move up again to so Gili, how do you explain? Yes. Todd, great question, Gili. Okay, the same one I had. Um, and guys, if I haven't answered your question, please let me know as well. Yes. So Shiri says, beautiful name, by the way. I'm a bit confused about the electricity and power supply to Gaza. On the one hand, you say it's not our responsibility, yet on the other hand, you mentioned we cut it off. Some may argue that by virtue of us providing it, the Palestinians began to rely on it, which is why when we cut it off, even though it's not our responsibility, we seem inhumane. Can you talk a little bit more about that? You're absolutely right, Shiri, absolutely right, right? I think being a democratic nation, and Israel being the nice country that Israel has always been, Israel, from the minute that we acquired or Israel acquired those territories, um, Israel not only provided electricity, water, but they actually taught a lot of the citizens, in terms of agricultural, what do you call them? Agricultural, what's the word I'm looking for? Um, Technology, or how to work the land, how to actually learn how to utilize every technology and every advancement that Israel had. Right, that's something that Israel, basically what I'm saying, Israel invested in the people and in the territories heavily, right? And yes, electricity and water has been something that Israel has been providing to Gaza, even with all the rockets and everything. And it's been pretty controversial, right? Because even among Israelis and Israel, some people couldn't understand why Israel continues to do that. So you're right. There is that controversy where we say, okay, Gaza, right? Hamas in this case, they should be taking care of their people, right? But they weren't. So Israel, being nice, felt the responsibility to continue to do that. At this point, Israel said no more. Just like Israel is saying to many things, no more, and that's it. We're not taking any shit, any crap from Hamas or anyone else. So Israel, at this point, I think what they're really doing, they're saying, we are done playing nice. And we don't care what the world says. We don't give up what the world says. we are now going to defend ourselves. And so, yes, Israel is being criticized for doing that. But at this point, Israel is going to be criticized, first of all, no matter what and what they do. The difference is that they don't care anymore. We don't care anymore. So hopefully I answer your question with that. Also, can we access? Yes. So you will have access to the presentation. It's being recorded, and I'm going to put it on my YouTube channel. Gilly, I think you nailed it. Underlying anti-Semitism, it's ugly. Yes. Mila, the Jews have been, so Mila, people are replying to you as well. Todd says, Mila, the Jews have been hated for years by many. Yes, PR. Yeah. Yes. Why isn't Egypt providing water and electricity? Exactly. And I know that's a rhetorical question, right, Irith? And like Egypt, where all the other Arab countries, right? They're providing a lot of money, like Iran, but the money is going to Hamas, right? And terrorism, not to the Palestinian people. But where are they? Exactly. Shira, you mentioned there are Palestinians living in Israel proper. I assume they would be Israeli citizens. Do you know approximately? Yes. So those who live in Israel, right? So the Arabs who live in Israel, and it's interesting because they started calling themselves Palestinians, but we're going to call them Israeli Arabs. Yes. So there's Israeli Arabs, and they have an Israeli citizenship, and they have the same rights. And as I showed you, we have members of parliament, 12, I think it was, that are Arabs. So they have the same rights as any other Jew or Israeli citizen. I don't know approximately what the population is. If someone has that number here, I just don't want to throw any numbers in terms of the Israeli Arab population, but it's high and it continues to grow. So there are the Palestinians from Gaza, from the West Bank or Judea and Samaria. They are not Israeli citizens. However, they are given visas or work permits to come into Israel every single day to work. So if anyone has that number, maybe someone put it here, or if anyone wants to look it up, that's going to be great. How would you respond when accusations are made that Arabs were forced out of their land? And it's interesting because I actually watched a great video today, and they answer that question very, very nicely. And again, it's all facts, right? It's fact-based. The Arabs that arrived in Israel, right, or Palestine under the British, what is it called? The British control, the British Empire, whatever it's called, British rule, the British rule. There it is. So
mandate.
Thank you. That's my mother. She's so smart. That's where I get it from. So the British mandate. The Arabs actually that arrived, 20% are Arabs. Thank you, mommy. The Arabs that arrived were actually literally brought and came to Palestine, to Israel in 1914 approximately, to work there. Okay, so the original Arabs or the Arabs that call themselves Palestinians that were forced out of Israel, they actually never lived in Israel. They're not indigenous. And we talked about this, right? They were never indigenous of the land, unlike the Jews. So they arrived in Israel. And then what happened, as you saw, right? Once there was the partition in 1948, the war, 1947, the war breaks. And what happens in a war, there are going to be casualties and people are going to be forced to leave. And some of them chose to leave and go with the Arab countries. So that's that's a fact, right? They were never thrown out of Israel. They were actually, the Jews at the time, they were okay with them staying, right? But the war broke and they had to flee. And that's what happened. So that's a fact. Hopefully I answer your question. Because yes, we get that question a lot, actually, that we threw out the Arabs from Israel. That's not true. That is not true. Any other questions, guys? And they're not indigenous of the land. That's a big one. That's a huge fact. And that's something that I actually learned by doing this presentation. Okay. The Arabs are not indigenous of Israel, of the land. The Jews are for thousands of years. And we're going to talk about this next week.
May I say something, please?
Of course.
The fact that you just mentioned that the Arabs that flee or were convinced by their countries to go because they were going to destroy and conquer Israel, they are refugees, or they have been using them as refugees. So I'm wondering why the 800,000 Jews, or more than 800,000 Jews that were living in the Arab countries and had to leave because they were thrown out, and they got to Israel, they were not refugees. They were integrated into society. And that's what Israel is because of them and because of the other immigrations.
Correct. Thank you. Thank you, Mami, for that.
And I would just like, sorry, if I may. We have been talking about facts and myths, but something that is very, very important for me, especially being a daughter of Holocaust survivor. We are not in 1940s. We are now in 2023, and we should never, ever show fear. It's true that inside we are afraid because we are humans after all. But what they are trying to do is really for us to be afraid, to hide, not to go places, and we shouldn't allow that. We have to be cautious, yes, but never again means never again.
Thank you. Very important. Absolutely. Great. So if we don't have any other questions, what I want to do, first of all, I want to thank you for being here.
Can I interrupt? I don't know how to raise my hand here.
Yes, Svetlana, go ahead.
I think just on your answer about
the Arabs were there, they were not there, they came in, they're not, in reality, it's a sad reality. Okay, but, if you look back at the history, who owned the land and who was the landowners back in Judea and Samaria and all those areas. There were a lot of landowners that were Syrian, from the, before the establishment of Israel. They brought a lot of workers into the land to work. They were the landlords. They were hiring them and getting them to pay, whatever taxes. When the independent war started, basically asked everybody, and all the five armies came in to push the Israelis out to the sea. They were told by a lot of their muftis or the head of their tribes to get out of the way so their armies can come in and push the Jews to the sea. That's a tragedy. It is a tragedy because they left and they came back. Ben Gurion told them, said, if you stay in your land and you're not going to make any harm, you're free to stay. We're not going to harm you. We're not going to do anything. If you look at the Israeli Arabs who lives in Israel, in the Mishulash, like in all those they consider themselves Israeli Arabs. Those are the villages that decided not to do anything. A lot of them, the Christian Arabs or, some other ones. They're the ones who decided we're not going to do anything, and they stay put, and they got spared. The one that fled lost everything and became refugees. That's really the story. We told them, don't do anything, don't make any harm, stay there. We'll take care of business, and you'll be a citizen like everybody else. And that's it.
Thank you for adding that. And I'm sure your name is not Svetlana.
It's Amit Berger.
Amit, nice to meet you.
I can't open my camera, otherwise we would open the camera. It's not working.
That's okay. That's okay. Amit, thank you. And Svetlana, thank you. Thank you for yet more facts, right? History, facts. Thank you. Todd, I see you brought a question here. My son has been approached at university by some Palestinians and asked which side he supports. Tell me a little bit more about that, Todd. And if you want to take yourself off of mute, like how was he approached? When was he approached? Was it at a protest? Was it casual? Give me a little bit of
No,
context.
he was actually waiting at the bus within the university bus stop. There's a few Palestinians there with some flags, also waiting for the bus, and they just approached him and asked him which side he was on, who he's supporting. He didn't answer. He just played dumb, to be honest with you, because he said that they look like they could be violent. He just had a bad feeling, so
Yeah.
he just tried to avoid answering.
Yeah. I don't blame him.
I would have answered in a way. I would have said, I feel sorry for the Palestinian because they are used as proxies in a conflict they should not be in. That's how I would have gone.
That's good. Thank you.
That's great, David. That's great. I would add to that, David, like again, I wish Palestinians were freed from Hamas and terrorists, right? I mean, you could definitely, I think that's a great idea, David, right? Not necessarily saying which side you're on, but you're definitely not on the side of terror, right? Making that statement. And this is why I wish I don't know if your son is here, Todd, but this is why I would love to get more students, especially university students, because I know they're being faced with a lot of this stuff. And the more facts, the more tools, the more ammunition we can give them on how to deal with these situations, the better it's going to be. Right. Keeping them safe, of course, keeping them safe. I mean, obviously it wasn't a great situation, but David, I think that's absolutely brilliant. It's a great answer.
Great. Thank you.
Sorry, I have a question. It's Svetlana here. Is there any initiatives in Hasbara actually going into universities and doing sessions for students? Because, Todd, I know what you're talking about. I mean, I was talking to my daughter the other day. She's in Concordia in Montreal, and she said that there were rallies and demonstrations and whatever, and she was scared. So she was like just kept away from it. But so I think it is intimidating for a lot of the Jewish students who don't want to get into trouble, who don't want any violence. I mean, nobody does, but it's just it's intimidating that sort of those demonstrations, and they're scary, they're intimidating. So I guess my question is, do you go into the universities and do these sessions? Because I think it's important. Yeah.
I agree with you, Svetlana, and I would love to do these sessions at the universities. I don't know which universities do have them and which don't. And again, this would be great to ask the students if they do have anything. I don't know of anything, to be honest with you, and this is why I decided to start these sessions. And in my message, I clearly said, get students here because I know how much is needed. So again, I would appreciate any help, and I would love to organize Hasbara for universities and see how we can do this, even if we do it via Zoom, right? If it's outside of driving range, let's put it that way. But yes, Svetlana, I agree with you, and you and I can talk about this if you want to, volunteer and have a conversation with me about this and see how we get this going. And this is something, this is the first step for me to get this going, but the idea is to make it bigger and to get to universities. Absolutely, that would be fantastic.
But are you not part of the Hasbara?
No.
I nominated myself. I'm an independent candidate. I just took initiative. I just took initiative because I saw that there is nothing here, and I'm talking about Toronto, right? Nothing here, and so that's why I decided to start this. And
okay, good for you. Good for you. And I think your Eyal has an idea for you.
Yes, he does. Let's see. He seems like a very smart, good-looking young man. So Eyal, please go ahead.
No, I just wanted to add something or I guess clear something up. So you mentioned that like Arabs aren't indigenous to the land, but I think a good fact to know also is that the Ottoman Empire had control over what was Palestine before the British, and the Ottoman Empire was an Arab, I guess, empire. They were an Arab empire, so there are many people that argue that they were indigenous, and they might not be indigenous to the land, but they have been there for a very, 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 very long time. So it's good to know that as well, that Arabs have also been in the land. It's not like they had just come there. There were many, I mean, all the countries around there are Muslim because of the Ottoman Empire. So there were many Muslims there for a long time, but they coexisted for most of the time there. I guess until the conflicts with the British and all that stuff. So I feel like that was something to add.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Yeah, absolutely. With the Ottoman Empire, even before that. Thank you for adding that. Yes, thank you. I see here. Hold on, I saw something here. How do we combat or deal with the freedom of speech? Where tonight they were praying on their knees in the middle of the road downtown. Avishag, what exactly is the question? I'm sorry, and I'm gonna ask, what is the problem here?
I guess what I'm trying to say is, I guess the emotions are running, and then you're trying to explain people that, this is not just an Israel problem. This is a worldwide problem. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, how do you, I guess, I'm not even sure how to put it because I'm kind of angry at it, but that Canada even allows something like that to happen, or Toronto, but just how to deal with that fact, how to.
Yeah, no, Avishag, I think I understand your feelings, and I share, that anger, right? That now we might see a Muslim, an Arab praying, right? And they just do it freely. Which, when we think about it, it's a beautiful thing that you can, go and pray freely. Now, does it go both ways? What would happen if a Palestinian or an Arab saw us doing it, right? I understand. So there, one second, Amit, 1 second. We have to, and this is why I ask you the question, because it is important that we try to separate our anger, right, and frustration from delivering the facts, and being able to stand our ground with the facts, rather than just being angry and being frustrated, because that gets us nowhere. In fact, we're just becoming probably like they are, just throwing things and being angry and just yelling. So we need to try and control that anger. And again, I know what you're saying, because this is a problem, and it's that they're taking over the world, which is what they want. Absolutely. And they've said it freely, right? I mean, they they keep saying it freely. So I understand your frustration.
Well, it's more, sorry, it's more than that. I mean, I just was passed a video of like a whole mosque literally on the street of Bloor and Young, like doing a prayer, or more than that, it was the screaming of Allahu Akbar, and it was like, I mean, how do we deal with that? I mean, it's scary that Toronto even allows something like that to happen.
Yeah, no, I know Amit is dying to say something. Amit, go.
The problem is we live in a very naive society. We live in Canada, and an average Canadian really at the end of the day cares about the weather and the hockey team that didn't score tonight, right? And what they don't understand, that they're in a war, maybe not today, but in about 10 years ago. I've been here for about 30 years. I don't remember that number of mosques all over the place. And the average Canadian doesn't see down the road. For us Israelis, we've seen it. We know what it means to live with a tiger in the same cage. And that's a problem. And I think that's where we're missing the Hasbara for the average Canadian. When my friends are calling, and in reality, most of us don't really care about what's happening in other places in the world, like maybe Ukraine, we have a little bit more attachment because we have some roots in there. But in Africa, people butchering themselves, and nobody really care, and we're worried about this. But there's a problem that we all facing, and our numbers, what we're like 18 million or 22 million people worldwide compared to 2 or 3 billions, right? And that's the problem.
It is a problem. And let's not be naive here. And I saw the comments here about how do we help students feel safe at school. And first of all, this whole mosque at Bloor coming out and praying, that's a statement. Obviously, that's exactly what they're doing. And let's not be naive. There is that aspect of fear, like literally being afraid, right? That we could be attacked, and no facts are going to save us from that, right? I mean, there's that imminent danger that we face. I mean, and I got to tell you, I teach at York, Seneca, and I teach at 2 different colleges, and at York, like walking into York today, I wasn't afraid. I don't let fear get to me, but it is uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable. But I mean, I guess I'm not that afraid because this is how I teach. This is what I did to make a statement. So I guess I'm not that afraid. But I don't know if you can see it. Anyways, I have Magen David's on my nails. There is an imminent threat, right? And we have to be careful. And to answer the question about the university students, they need to be careful, 100%, right? There is some fear and some threats, and like I said, no education and facts are probably going to help you in that situation. So, what do we do to protect our students? I think students really need to stand up to the universities to make sure that they get the protection that they deserve. Is that going to happen? I don't know. I probably don't think so, to be honest with you. Not in the world that we live in, not in Canada, but that is a real thing. And we need to be careful. And at the same time, we cannot let fear run our lives, right? We can't, because that's what they want. They want to intimidate us. They want us to be afraid. They want us to stay home. And we cannot let them do that, because then they won. They won. So
I think there's something, not to interrupt, but I think there's also something in universities there. There are, of course, many more Muslims than Jews, but there are also a lot of people that are in the middle and don't know a lot about anything. And I have a lot of friends that are people who are Christians or anything other than Muslim or Jewish are coming up to them and asking kind of what's going on and what's happening. If you could tell me a little bit about it, and even if they don't ask, I'm sure that a lot of people's kids here in university have friends who aren't Jewish or Muslim, and those people could either be ignorant because on mass media, mostly what they're seeing is the side of the Palestinians. But if there's a way to educate people who are in the middle and don't have a bias towards either, they can then know the facts of everything as well. And when they're confronted by Palestinians, they could have other conversations, because I feel like those people in the middle are important as well, because they don't have biases, they don't have natural feelings or inclinations towards anything or any hatred. So I think educating those people as well, because I'm sure a lot of kids have friends that are not Jewish or Muslim as well.
that's a great point. When doing Hasbara and education at universities, it doesn't have to be open just to Jews, right? Inviting friends, right? Because you're right. You all know people that are not Jewish in university. So inviting them, right, to come with you and to get the facts and to get educated and become ambassadors. That's fantastic, right? That's the best thing that we can do. Yeah. Yes, mommy.
Just one thing. A fact is that Palestine never existed. It was Judea in the time of the Romans. And because they wanted to get rid of the Jews, they decided to use the name to change Judea to Palestine, Philistine. And that's how it became that area, Palestine. all the Jews that were born before 1948 in Palestine, they are Palestinians. Then they became Israelis. So the Palestinian people never existed. It was the territory that was called Palestine, where Jews, Arabs, Christians lived there. Sorry, I just had to clarify that.
Thank you. A lot of history, and I'm going to share some videos actually of history with facts. I've learned a lot since the conflict started in terms of history and facts that I didn't know. So when I share my video on my channel is Shiri Gabriel on YouTube. So I have a channel already. So I'm going to post that on my channel. And what I'll do is I'm going to tag and I'm going to add some of the links to some videos so you guys can have access to that. Okay. So guys, thank you. I appreciate you being here. I will be doing this again next Wednesday. So spread the love, spread the word. Let's try to get more people here, especially younger people, students. And if you want to reach out to me privately, please do so. If you have any other questions or you want to suggest something, feedback would be great. And if ideas such as going to universities, but anything that you want to contribute, please do so. As I said, I'm doing this independently. So it's learn as you go and contribute as you go. So please provide me with your feedback, ideas. That would be great. So we can all benefit from this. Thank you so much again for being here and connect with me. I'd be happy to talk to you privately and maybe even meet for a coffee. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Shiri.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care.
Much
Thank you. Thank you, Rosa.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you,
All
Shiri.
right. Thank you. Thank you. And oh, Gili's here. Gili, thank you. Yes, all of these facts have been provided to me by the Hasbara, the Global Hasbara group. So everything that I shared has been verified. So thank you. I appreciate that. Todd, you can connect.
Yes.
Thank you. You can connect with me. Are you on Facebook? We can start there.
I am. Yeah, I am on Facebook.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
Facebook or LinkedIn. Yeah, that would be great.
Sure, I'm on both. Yeah. Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate your time.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.